Thank you. Can you hear me? Good. If this is the land of rattlesnakes and Gila monsters, I come to you from the land of lions and tigers and bears, oh my. Y mi español no es perfecto, pero mi primer pensamiento después de hablando con el nuncio por teléfono y él explicó la situación, mi primer pensamiento estaba del excelente trabajo literario de Kansas, The Wizard of Oz, cuando Dorothy dijo a su perrito, Todo, ya no estamos en Kansas. Hace más de 30 años desde que yo he estudiado español, pero con su asistencia y con poco práctica, yo pienso que yo voy a aprender más y más de nuestro idioma. Gracias. Ahora, pocas palabras en inglés. Now is not the time for a homily will come later. But I always, in my ministry, have reflected on the beautiful lines between St. Peter and Jesus after the resurrection, especially from Matthew's Gospel, where Peter, if you're reading between the lines, is ashamed. He's ashamed for that threefold failure the night before Jesus died. And so Jesus says to him 3 times, Peter, do you love me? It's as though he's shaking the Etch-a-Sketch, for those of you old enough to remember a pre-technology child's toy. He's shaking it to clear out the guilt and the humiliation. And having restored Peter, and only after Peter professes great love 3 times, does Jesus entrust the mission to him. I do know from my quick 5 years of experience that bishops have a lot of responsibilities and duties, but there's only one real task, and that is, of course, to love, and to love well, and to love sacrificially by pouring ourselves out. So I know that I will face many of those tasks that have already been mentioned, but I do know very well the real task is to love you and to love with you. That is the way the kingdom of God will be built, and built beautifully in this noble, magnificent Diocese of Tucson. Now, just a few quick things about me. I think my curriculum vitae is out there, so you can read anything you want to know there. I am unabashedly a fan of priests. Priests have always been my hero from the time I was a little boy. I think it's probably why, or at least that's the reason, or the means God worked through to bring me to my own vocation. I know that it's been a hard years these last 20, 25 years or so, with the very public failure of priests in our world. And I know that a lot of priests have suffered, but they continue to be my heroes, putting one foot in front of another. And in that, as I referenced early, sacrificial way of loving our people, gathering them together, sharing sacramental life with them, simply loving them. They have always been my heroes, and they continue to be my heroes, and I really love working with them. It was 3 weeks ago, seems like a long time ago now, I didn't know any of this would happen, but 3 weeks ago I preached the homily at my childhood pastor's funeral, and he was a magnificent father figure for me, especially father figure in the ways of faith. He nurtured my vocation, sent me off to the seminary, and became with time a close friend. But those friendships in the priesthood are critical. Our relationships with our priests are critical, and working with priests is one of my great joys. That does not by any means lessen my appreciation for others in the church. I'm not here to try to prove anything about myself today. That would be foolish, but I would say from the time I got to the Salina Diocese, I realized bishops need to celebrate the Midnight Mass and the Easter Vigil Mass always in their cathedral if possible. I always did that, but I always had a Christmas Day Mass and an Easter Day Mass at the Mother House of the Sisters of St. Joseph, in Concordia, the only mother house in the Salina Diocese. My great affection for those sisters and appreciation for their work always made those two liturgies a great joy for me. And so I have tremendous appreciation for all the wonderful ministries that our sisters do and for their presence among us. Likewise, I'm very grateful for the work of our deacons. When I was 18 years old in 1979, I went off to the seminary. At the same time, Herman Lawrence from my parish in Lawton, Oklahoma, went off to be in the first class of deacons for Oklahoma. And he was, of course, an older man. His children were my friends, but through the years, for about 5 years, we compared our tracks. I was at his ordination, he was at mine. He became a dear friend. I was privileged to ordain 2 classes of deacons for the Salina Diocese, and I have great appreciation for the diaconia that they embody. Seminarians, how can you not love seminarians? When I went off to the seminary in '78, it was still considered a socially acceptable thing to do, to become a priest outside the church. Our culture still had some semblance of understanding that this was a young man who was going to do something noble with his life. That's gone. Our culture today looks at those young men and scratches their heads. I like to say seminarians are men who can look the culture in the eye and not blink. And for that reason, they too fall in the category of my heroes. I love working with seminarians. Professional lay ministers, I've done, I think, everything I could throughout my priesthood and my years as bishop. I filled 5 primary slots over the last 5 years in Salina: the chancellor, the director of Catholic Charities, the director of communications in the diocesan newspaper, and director of development. 4 of the 5 slots were filled with professional women. I enjoy working with women very much in professional capacity, and I look forward to continuing those good relationships and work here in the Diocese of Tucson. I also did what I could to get advanced education for clergy, and I helped to educate 3 lay canon lawyers for Oklahoma. I was only able to find one who was willing to do it, Mr. Corey Lyon, for the Salina Diocese. But getting people the right education and formation is one of the principal ways that we build up the kingdom of God. And so I really enjoy my relationships with those professional lay ministers. I'm almost at the end. Chancery staff, I was a vicar general for 16 years. I worked in the tribunal for almost 20. I know what it's like. And you all are unsung heroes in so many respects. Someone once said, when you work with people 8 hours a day, you sometimes spend more time with your coworkers than your family, and in a different way, your coworkers become family. I found that true of the Chancery in Oklahoma City. I found it true of the Chancery in Salina, and I look forward to getting to know my family in the Chancery here. Lastly, certainly, the fabric of the church is the people of God. We can never get too far from the people of God, as important as our work is, without detriment to our own vocations or theirs. Remaining close to the people not only blesses them, but in a far greater way blesses us. I'm fond of saying in homilies, and I'm just now at the cusp of the age of repeating myself over and over, I'm fond of saying, no matter how hard we try to give and give generously, in ministry we always receive more than we give. The people are good, they are gracious, they are loving, and they are the ones who not only bring our ministry to life, but keep us faithful and on track. So that's a little bit about who I am. Rather than take questions today, I think we're going to have a little line where I can shake hands and at least meet you briefly before I head on, and I have a press conference at 9. I do want to say, to really close, that this was a little unsettling when I took that phone call. I was very happy as a priest for 25 years in Oklahoma. I was very happy as a bishop for 5 years in Salina. On some level, that should make you happy. Because people who are unhappy in one place are seldom happy in another. My hunch is by the time I unpack my suitcase in a couple of months, I'm going to be very happy and very at home here in Tucson. And as I said a moment ago, I took the news and it shook the foundation a little bit. It's a different direction in life. But my next phone call was to our beloved Bishop Kikanis, who instantly put my mind at ease, my heart at rest, and extended me a magnificent welcome. Please join with me in expressing our gratitude to this marvelous shepherd.
Thank you very much. Well done.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Well done.